right, a very warm welcome to you. If you're joining us right now, of course, this is the Daily Report every Tuesday with me, Victor Muyakane, and of course, the great George Maringa.
Absolutely. It's great to be on the show as always every Tuesday. Linda is not with us again this Tuesday, but of course she'll be joining us soon. But as always, we bring you the People's Court, and today we have quite an interesting topic, don't we, Victor?
Absolutely. We want to look at the state of disasters in this country. No doubt, if you live in this country, you have heard or you have even been affected personally or indirectly with the flood that has been happening, the floods that have been happening across the country. Tonight, we have two gentlemen who are here to tell us their story. They have experienced firsthand the ferocity, the severity, and the devastation of the floods. They're here with us. We also have some experts in studio, experts who are here to share some insights into exactly how we got here and possibly just how we can get ourselves out of this position. All that and more in our interview segment during the People's Court.
Absolutely. But first, here's a glimpse of what's making headlines from across the country and beyond.
Tonight, with the continuous heavy rains predicted to continue, concerns are rising over the potential spread of waterborne and respiratory diseases.
An outbreak ya kipindupindu. Akaanza kuhara, akaanza kutapika green.
This as 35 people in camps have already been confirmed to have contracted cholera in Tana River County. The threat to food security looms large in Baringo County as vast stretches of crops and essential irrigation infrastructure in Pakera irrigation scheme have been destroyed by floods.
Tumepata janga la mvua imeathiri mimea mingi, ile kadiri ya ekari ile imeharibu mwaka huu. Juzi wakati tunafanya assessment ni 227 acres.
The formal beginning of the race to succeed African Union Commission Chairman Moussa Faki is set for August this year, following a notification from the African Union urging the government to submit the name of Azimio leader Raila Odinga.
Live from the broadcasting headquarters of TV47, we thank you for joining us. Catherine Simaloy is on sign language interpretation tonight. Our feedback channels at Muyakane, at George Maringa _ on X, formerly Twitter, SMS line 22047. Start with your name, followed by your question or feedback regarding the program tonight. Let's get the show on the road, shall we? And Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki has now said that evictions from the areas prone to floods and mudslides is mandatory, especially as the heavy rains are yet to subside. The CS says that infrastructure will be improved to avoid further destruction from heavy rains.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki has condoled with some of the families that lost their kin in the devastating floods that have so far claimed the lives of over 200 people.
You are aware last week we had a very unfortunate incident not far away from here.
Kindiki says that the government will cover the funeral expenses for the grieving families.
Ongoing rains, we have had issues here related to mudslides, landslides, and the general destruction of property and the blocking of infrastructure.
And in order to save the lives of thousands of Kenyans, he has ordered the mandatory evacuation of residents in areas prone to landslides.
On behalf of government, that the bridge will be built. We have, government has allocated funds for emergency response, and therefore I will be conveying this message to my counterpart, the Minister responsible for infrastructure, roads and transport.
A funeral service will be held in honor of the deceased.
Those who are affected, we will be able to have a general mass service to remember the souls of our departed countrymen and women.
Vera Alberta, TV47.
Thank you, Farah, for that. With the heavy rains experienced in the country being predicted to persist, there are fears of outbreak of waterborne and respiratory diseases spreading. Already, 35 people in camps have been confirmed to have contracted cholera in Tana River County. Sheila Chilangat has visited a camp here in Nairobi and prepared this report for us on the plight of the victims.
For 3 weeks now, this has been home to these victims of flooding in Mathare area. This room in particular hosting up to 48 people, and for them, night times are the hardest.
Sisi wengine hawana mattress, tunapewa blanketi tunatandika chini. Na unaona hii carpet iko na baridi sana.
Kulikuwa na outbreak ya kipindupindu. Akaanza kuhara, akaanza kutapika green. Kidogo, akaitiwa ambulance.
They are worried that the mitigation efforts by the county government might be challenged by their large numbers.
Kuoga ni shida, kila kitu ni shida. Chakula hata kupata pia ni shida.
Yani hatufurahii sana. Hatufurahii, hatuna raha kukaa hapa.
Issues to do with cholera. We already have some in Tana River. About 35 cases that have been cited, and we will continue with our teams on the ground to ensure that we get the real picture, the real numbers from the ground.
Kuna zile mitaa hasa zimeathirika, pale unapata boli ni moja na imefurika na mafuriko. Tumehakikisha kuwa watu wetu, public health officers na wale wengine wako pale kuhakikisha kuwa yale maji yametibiwa na ni salama kwa kutumia.
In Maimahiu, Naivasha, wounds of the horrific landslide are yet to heal. Expressing their worries and raising concern about their mental well-being.
Wakati mwingine nasikia hii kiswa inakuja na kifikiria nasikia kama niuma. Tena sijui tumbo kwa nini inafanya nini. Hata jana nilishindwa na kukula hii chakula.
As they pick up the pieces, their call to the government is
serikali inaweza kutusikilia huruma, watujengee kwa ajili kwangu siwezi kurudi, niko karibu kwa maji.
Ningepata pesa ni songe tu nitafute nyumba yangu. Niingie nikae vile nilikuwa nakaa maisha yangu na watoto wangu.
The plight of the victims in this camp mirrors the plight of those in other camps across the country. The unanimous call is for the government to step in and provide them with permanent settlements. Sheila Chilangat for TV47 in Mathare, Nairobi.
Thank you, Sheila, for that. Food security in the county of Baringo could be in jeopardy after hectares upon hectares of crops as well as the irrigation infrastructure in Pakera irrigation scheme was destroyed by floods. More than 1,000 families have also been displaced in a county also gripped by increasing cases of banditry that could exacerbate the situation. Kisawa Emory with the details.
Baringo County could be facing not one, but two potential disasters on the horizon. A looming food crisis appears inevitable as the Pakera irrigation scheme, regarded as the region's breadbasket, suffered severe damage from raging floods caused by the bursting of the Molo, Pakera and Weseges rivers.
Hivi karibuni, hata ile chakula watu walikuwa wamepanda, hakuna chakula itakuwa tena shambani.
Hundreds of hectares of maize crops planted by contracted farmers under Kenya's seed program were swept away. These farmers, many of whom had taken loans for this project, now face an uncertain future with a lost harvest and mounting debt.
Ile hasara wakulima watapata ya deni kwa sababu hiyo mashamba ya Kenya seed, it is enormous.
Imechukua yote. Sasa tungependa serikali wakuja watusaidie kwa sababu tulikopesha hata loan. Sasa tunajiangalia watu tumejiangalia tu hakuna kitu kingine.
Baringo Governor Benjamin Cheboy and Muchungoi Ward MCA Kipruto Kimosop visited the devastated area and appealed to the national government for urgent intervention to address the looming food insecurity.
We are asking the government and the disaster response committee at the national level and also the disaster response committee at the county level to get prepared to ease the challenges of food insecurity which will arise out of the losses that have been borne by the farmers here.
The floods have also displaced over 1,000 families, causing a humanitarian crisis of untold proportions. These families are now camping in makeshift shelters in various sanitation centers and schools in the county, with the county stretched to its absolute limit to support those displaced by banditry. Kisewa Emory, TV47.
Thank you, Kisa, for that. A family in Mathare is crying for justice after their 17-year-old son was killed by an eviction team on the ongoing demolition of houses in flood-risk areas. According to eyewitnesses, chaos erupted when angry residents chased away government officials who were demolishing houses in riparian areas of the slums. According to the family, the driver of the bulldozer was informed about the presence of kids inside the building, but still went on and demolished the building, hence causing the child's death under the watch of police.
Mawe zikamwangukia tingatinga ikamchota hapa nyuma ya kichwa mzima ikaanguka ikamwagika. Hivyo ndio ndugu yetu sasa, ndugu yangu alikufa. Tukaenda tukaanza kugoma, tukaambia mapolisi wataki kutusikia. Wakaanza kututupia tear gas, wakachamulia mtoto wetu hapo katikati. Wakambeba, waliteka long kabla wamchukue. Wakambeba, wakamuingiza kwa nini yao. Wakakata hadi sisi tumfuate na sisi ni watu wake.
Mtoto wangu mwenye alibomolewa kichwa na tingatinga anaitwa Realtor. Mimi naomba tu serikali, lakini nimechoka na kuongea. Sina venye naweza zika mtoto wangu. Anisaidie tu nipeleke mtoto wangu kwetu nyumbani. Wanisaidie tu nikazike mtoto wangu. Jota venye anakaa si mtu wa kukaa mochari hata wiki hata 3. Venye anakaa si mtu wa kukaa. Si mtu wa kukaa. Munisaidie tu, wanisaidie tu. Nipeleke mtoto wangu nyumbani akazikwe. Jua lishaua. Wawezi nirudishia. Wanisaidie tu nikazike mtoto wangu. Wanisaidie tu. Nimetafuta haki, hakuna kitu yote nimesaidiwa nayo.
Parents are expressing concerns about children attending school despite the president's directive against it. Hassan Duale, the director of education at JSS in Nairobi County, explains that the Ministry of Education is still evaluating the flood situation in public schools, as Ruga Ival now reports.
After the government issued a directive for students not to return to school due to the flooding crisis, some schools have been seen to disregard the order and have continued with lessons as usual. Assessments in some public schools, however, continue after classes were postponed for the second week. Hassan Duale, an education officer, informs us that committees from the Ministry of Education have been ordered to submit reports on the flooding situation in public schools in order to give directives regarding the opening of schools for the second term.
We have been sent by our ministry leadership, who are assessing the school infrastructure and the situation of schools after the floods. Yes, the schools will be guided. We had a series of senior level meetings and a lot of discussions with stakeholders. All those preparations are in place to really cover on the time lost.
Nevertheless, lost class time may, however, be compensated for in different ways. Teachers at Ndurarwa primary and secondary schools revealed that they are well prepared to recover.
As a school, we are ready. We have been coming here through every day. The school administration is busy with the preparation, and we are only waiting for the government directives.
Meanwhile, the government has been commended for funding the infrastructure renovations of structures that were damaged by the ongoing heavy rains.
The funds that they've offered in schools so that the few areas that have hitches can be amended before our learners are back in class. The teachers are busy with the lessons plan, with the scheme of work, so that we can cover what we are supposed to cover. We are going to ensure that during lunchtime, normally we have like a 1 hour break. We'll ensure that we can cut it, that is according to different schools, so that we can have those 30 minutes to let our learners cover what they've lost.
Ruga Ewal, TV47.
Thank you, Ruga, for that. As the doctors' strike enters its 55th day, the medics today postponed their planned nationwide demonstrations to pave way for dialogue, with only a few hours left to the lapse of the 48-hour dialogue period granted by the Employment and Labor Relations Court. And as Elizabeth Atieno now reports, the clinicians have intensified their demonstrations in Nairobi.
On the 5th of May, the whole of nation approach meeting between both levels of government and the striking medics bore no fruits after various points of divergence emanated. For instance, KMPDU maintained the need for medical interns to be posted with a gross salary of 206,000 per month as per the 2017 CBA, whereas the government cited the SRC circular dated the 13th of March 2024, which proposes 70,000 Kenya shillings as gross pay for the medical interns. The Ministry of Health agreed to pay the basic salary arrears for the doctors and form a new CBA, whereas the county governments remained non-committal on the issue. The Health Ministry has further agreed to clear school fees arrears for the postgraduate students, but there was no commitment to pay for the self-sponsored registrars. KMPDU also differed with county governments after the 11 counties yet to provide enhanced medical scheme for medics asked for 90 days to procure and provide the medical covers. KMPDU now saying the timelines provided by these counties are inordinately excessive. However, both levels of government have agreed to form a national task force on health reforms with a mandate binding to both the national and county governments. Even as the stalemate between the doctors and government persists, the Employment and Labor Relations Court has directed the parties to conclude the talks by Wednesday, the 8th of May, failure to which the court will be forced to intervene and determine all pending applications. Elsewhere, the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers today held their demonstrations in Nairobi as the clinicians' strike enters its 37th day.
Tuko hapa kusema kupunguza mshahara kwa interns wetu na pia sisi kama walioajiriwa, kwa sababu hilo ndilo wanaenda kufanya pale mbele, tunakataa.
Mgomo wetu wa maafisa tabibu na wale wa UHC ni kwa ajili ya kuhimiza ama kuishinikiza serikali kuwekeza katika sekta yetu ya afya.
Elizabeth Atieno, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Elizabeth Atieno, for that report, which leads us to a short break right here on the Daily Report. You're back on the other side with more stories. Do stay with us.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na Nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus niko niwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee. Soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue. Mpaka nimetoa hivi.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking.
Nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check online and you can see some inspiration. So at least that one would be a direction already. I'll know like what kind of style you're going for.
To finishing touches, witness the dedication of the hard-working teams who bring these ambitious dreams to reality. The Realtor, Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. The news continues. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mithika Linturi's lawyer, that is Muthomi Thiankolu, has told the 11-member select committee probing claims against the CS that they will be presenting more evidence tomorrow before the hearing starts officially. Bumula MP Jack Wamboka, the mover of the impeachment motion, made his remarks before the select committee on the proposed dismissal of the Cabinet Secretary at the mini chambers. Here in Nairobi, Paul Kirobi reports.
The process to impeach Agriculture CS Mithika Linturi is underway as the 11-member select committee starts the official hearing of the allegations tabled against him. This evening, both parties were given time to present their submissions, including evidence before the 11-member select committee. CS Linturi, however, says he is ready to defend himself since he is innocent.
I am represented by a number of lawyers in this matter. I would really kindly ask you to permit me or allow them to introduce themselves.
The 11-member select committee is headed by Marsabit Women Representative Naomi Wako. Others are Majority Party Chief Whip Robert Mbui of Kathiani, Deputy Leader of the Minority Party, Rachel Nyamai of Kitui South, Samuel Chepkonga from Ainab Koi, Tarakanithis Gitonga Murugara, and Tom Kajwang of Ruaraka, among others. Meanwhile, a section of leaders drawn from Meru County have moved with speed to save Linturi, terming the impeachment motion as ill-advised. The committee is set to continue with the hearing tomorrow morning.
We will be appealing to partners of Kenya, including ambassadors of the nations that partner with Kenya in development, starting from the US, the High Priest of Sanity, that they dissociate and henceforth stop dealing any dealings.
If it finds the allegations are substantiated, the National Assembly shall give CS Linturi a chance to defend himself. The National Assembly should conclude the debate on the report of the Select Committee within 14 days of giving of the notice of motion for the adoption of the committee's report. If the motion to adopt the report of the Select Committee obtains the support of the majority of the House membership, which is capped at 176 members, it will be ushered to the next stage. If carried by that number, the motion shall be deemed adopted by the House and the Cabinet Secretary shall be regarded impeached from office. The Speaker shall promptly deliver the resolution to the President, who shall dismiss the Cabinet Secretary. Paul Kirobi, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Paul, for that. Tonight, the race to succeed Africa Union Commission Chairman Moussa Faki begins formally in August this year after the African Union sent a notification to the government to submit the name of Azimio leader Raila Odinga. Principal Secretary at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Korir Sing'oei, said the notification will allow the real candidates to emerge. Kenya is banking on Somalia and Djibouti to drop their candidacy in favor of Raila. Apollo Kamau reports.
Azimio coalition leader Raila Odinga's bid for the African Union chairperson position will be formal in August this year after the African Union Commission sent notifications to countries nominating candidates for various posts to apply by the 6th of August. The 6th of May letter, seen by TV47, states in part, candidatures must be received by the Commission, Office of the Legal Counsel, hand-delivered in sealed envelopes on or before August 6, 2024, at 17 hours Addis Ababa time. Also expected of the candidates is their CVs and a short write-up on how they plan to address Africa's most pressing issues. The notification comes in the middle of intense lobbying by Kenya to persuade Somalia to stand down her candidate, former Foreign Affairs Minister Fawzia Adam, which featured during Tuesday's meeting between Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and Somalia Prime Minister Hamza Barre, who is in the country for an official visit. Principal Secretary at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Dr. Korir Sing'oei, while confirming on the engagement between the two sides, said, and I quote, Somalia indicates their willingness to basically second Kenya's concerns. We are committed to agreeing on who is the best to represent the region and carry the region's flag. Somalia has claimed it has the support of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC bloc, which has 27 countries. The entry of Djibouti, which is backing its Foreign Affairs Minister Mohamed Yusuf, and part of the Eastern region's bloc, has complicated matters for Kenya, which is hoping between now and August the dynamics will change. Apul Kamau, TV47.
Thank you, Apollo, for that. The National Social Security Fund, NSSF, has today launched its strategic plan for the year 2023 to 2027. The move, seen as a milestone towards enhancing the provision of social security in the country, saw NSSF announce ambitious targets such as turnaround time to pay benefits of within a day. Take a look.
The next 5 years will see the National Social Security Fund, NSSF, walk the talk, going by the latest strategic blueprint. The 2023 to 2027 strategic plan, according to NSSF, will be anchored within the mission to empower NSSF members to achieve financial security through prudent investments and value-adding solutions. This as NSSF seeks to be the trusted social security provider.
It is transforming the NSSF from the NSSF we have known before into an outfit that anchors Kenya savings for Kenyans. So we want to be the premier institution that provides retirement solutions to Kenyans. One of the strategies, one of the things that we have put in this strategic plan is to make sure NSSF pays benefits. That has been the pain point on NSSF, and we need to ensure that we pay benefits.
Data from NSSF has revealed that over 350 billion Kenya shillings was contributed by Kenyans in form of pension. However, thousands of retirees were struggling to survive once they cease working. NSSF is seeking to grow its fund value to unprecedented heights, reaching a milestone of 1 trillion shillings. Further investments in sectors promoting grassroots development such as agriculture, small and medium enterprises and rural infrastructure will stimulate job creation, empower local communities and foster inclusive growth.
One, we are engaging, we are actually establishing a special department in NSSF so that it guides the people out there on the many opportunities, the myriad opportunities, investment opportunities that they can, take advantage of through the various NSSF platforms. So one, we are setting aside a specific department that will ensure those in the diaspora get, timely information.
Prime CS Musalia Mudavadi has challenged NSSF to explore possibilities of reinvesting in development projects within the country.
You can imagine if it is well geared and it's well thought through, how NSSF can become perhaps the next most significant or largest shareholder in Kenya's Jomo Kenyatta's new airport terminal. Different from the traditional approach, we are visa-free, we are growing numbers, the traffic is increasing. You can imagine what the pension funds can do in modernizing our airport.
According to NSSF, at least 84% of Kenyans lack social security. 1.2 million elderly Kenyans sleep without eating any food because they cannot afford it. At the same time, at least 800,000 elderly Kenyans live alone and lonely with no one to help them out.
Kenyan workers in the formal and informal and public and private sectors need an assurance of dignified lives after retirement, characterized by ability to meet their basic needs from their savings during active years. This emphasizes the critical role that the fund plays, not only in mobilization of domestic savings, but in achievement of sustainable development goals, which includes reduction in old age poverty and dignifying Kenyans in their old age.
The turnaround, NSSF officials opine, will reduce to within 1 day of claim.
We would want to move the turnaround time. We now do an average of 12 days. We brought it from around 3 months. We are now on average doing between 10 and 15 days. With automation, digitization, and all these processes combined in this strategic plan, we should be able to move benefits turnaround time to basically within a day or 24 hours by the time we come to the end of this strategic plan in 2027. So the question is, and that is one of our strategic objectives, we need to ensure that we move payment of benefits to 1 day.
Other pillars that will guide this strategic plan are customer satisfaction of 95%, growth in membership by 1 million new members, employee satisfaction of 95%, reduction in costs to 1.5%, as well as declaration of double-digit interest to members. George Maringa, TV47, Nairobi.
From 81% to 95%.
Time now for another short commercial break. When we come back, we have more news, including that conversation on the People's Court. Do stay with us.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus nikoniwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee. Soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue. Mpaka nimetoa hii.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking.
Nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check online and you can see some inspiration. So at least that one will be a direction.
Welcome back. Let's make sense of the sense. And Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Linturi has recommended elaborate soil fertility management practices through fertilizer use in his address to delegates at the continent's Africa Soil Health and Fertilizer Summit, despite his ongoing impeachment motion and allegations of involvement in the subsidized fertilizer debacle. The besieged CS further noted that the continent leaders must come up with practical and achievable financing methods to promote fertilizer use in the continent. But as Kenya's continental peers look up to her as a beacon of hope in the agricultural sector, is it hypocritical that the ministry involved sweeps the prevailing issues under the rug? Hibak Said tells us more.
Amidst the peer recommendation of Kenya as a continental leader in the use of fertilizer,
our expectations from the event are the following 4 priorities. The first one is the Nairobi Declaration. The second is the 10 years fertilizer action plan. The third is a soil initiative for Africa framework. And the last is the mechanism to finance the action plan.
Lies the anxiety and jitters of a cabinet secretary whose fate lies in the balance.
This arises from the fact that fertilizers are expensive and calls for precise and prescriptive fertilizer recommendations at the farm level, which are based on precise soil testing to ensure increased sustainable and profitable crop production.
And a litany of proposals and possible action plans by a man who might not even execute them. Now, amidst the fog of uncertainty is the veil of what many would call deception, as the systemic rot is plastered over with achievements that Kenya might not live up to.
This will be the only way to reach the targets set within the action plans.
And while Parliament fiddles with the idea of impeachment, the government highlights its elaborate use of technology and subsidized schemes in promoting soil health, as Kenya boasts of using 60+ kilos of fertilizer per acre in comparison to the continental average of around 18 kilos per acre. Only 18% of Kenya is arable, and the amount under production is a little less than 2 million hectares. And despite this, maize production is slightly above 40 million bags per annum, a feat that the government is now conveniently attributing to stand-up policies that other countries can emulate. But besides this, market players are hopeful that the proceedings would be for the benefit of the entire continent.
We are in a very volatile environment, as we are seeing flooding everywhere. When you are bringing organics and organics, you also help to sequester the carbon. So we believe that this is really the way to go for Africa to improve its food and nutritional security.
Soil fertility depletion has been cited as the fundamental root cause of declining per capita production arising from continuous mining of soil nutrients, inappropriate farming practices, including use of blanket fertilizer recommendations.
To that effect, the government has today launched a national soil management policy, a policy that will, ironically, aim to boost soil health through responsible use of authentic and certified fertilizer.
We need all the hands on deck. And this summit, they have already said out of this, we need to have 10-year action plan. And those 10-year action plan, we need all the hands on the deck.
After 17 years, we have the very second Africa Soil Health and Fertilizer Summit. This coming as governments take a conjoined effort in order to ensure that policies are the same so that food production in the continent is boosted. Hibak Said for TV 47 Nairobi.
Thank you, Hibak Said, for that. Kenyans will be looking forward to more taxation in the coming 2024 to 2025 government's financial year starting July, with President Dr. William Ruto insisting that Kenya's priority is to achieve self-reliance through own source revenue. President Ruto adding that the government is committed to fully paying its debts. This follows Kenya on Tuesday receiving a 40 billion shillings loan from the World Bank. Moiga William with that report.
40 billion shillings is the amount of the recent loan set to be acquired by the national government. The World Bank provided this money to facilitate the second phase of urban development. However, the head of state had this to say in relation to the country's state of debt.
That 40 billion is a loan. It is not free money. And it is money that has been contributed by other countries.
President Ruto's hard stance giving a sneak peek of the coming days will bring, seemingly hinting that it will be the responsibility of Kenyans to bear the burden of the government's plans and strategies to achieve its goals.
Even as we use other people's savings, we must begin to grow our own savings. That is the message. Because this loan we have to pay. It's not free money.
Further, the head of state insisted that it is the intention of the Kenya Kwanza administration to ensure that debts are paid and within the specified time frame.
We must begin to internalize own source revenue. The same way, nationally, we are internalizing raising our own taxes. It is just as simple as that. There is no free lunch anywhere in the world.
Mwigi William, TV47.
Thank you, Moiga, for that. The chairman of the National Assembly Budget and Appropriations Committee, Ndindi Nyoro, has reiterated the government's commitment to reduce the country's debt by cutting close to 300 billion shillings in the budget, as Natasha Wairimu now reports.
Our budget that we are working on for next financial year, that is 24-25 financial year, is around 3.9 trillion Kenya shillings, thereabout. And out of which then, we have been able to lower our deficit to only 2.9% of our GDP, something that has not been seen in Kenya for a very long time.
Speaking during the annual Economist Society of Kenya conference that was held in Mombasa, the chairman of the National Assembly's Budget and Appropriations Committee, Ndindi Nyoro, said that in the proposed 3.9 trillion budget for the 2024-2025 financial year, the deficit has been lowered to 2.9%. He reiterated the government's commitment to reduce the country's debt by borrowing less and relying more on our internal resources.
And the highlight is that we have brought down the amount of deficit or the amount of money we anticipate to borrow, because we want to walk the talk of borrowing less and relying more on our own internal resources. And that is why we had to cut off the budget by over 2 or actually close to 300 billion so that we make a budget that we will actually be able to fund.
Kakamega Governor Fernandez Baraza has urged the National Assembly to be considerate while allocating the budget to all counties, adding that currently counties lack the funds to manage the disasters that have been brought about by the floods.
I was just requesting the National Assembly to really consider the amount which it's being proposed to go to counties so that it is actually realistic.
The Parliamentary Budget Committee has allocated money in accordance with the targeted intervention set in the 2024-2025 fiscal year budget, that is the education and agricultural sectors, where the majority of Kenyans are in. Hence, an efficient budget allocation to all counties. Reporting for TV47, I am Natasha Wairimu.
Thank you, Natasha, for that. You now know what's making headlines in the world of business. Let's get sporty. Leah Jeruto Kibet clocked 9 minutes 47.75 seconds to back the 3,000 meters steeplechase race at the 44th edition of the Athletics Kenya Defence Forces Track and Field Championships at Ulinzi Sports Complex. Jeruto ahead of Diana Chepkorir and Mercy Wanjiru, who gave her a run for her money. In the 10 meters walk, Simul Wachira clocked 43 minutes and 5.4 seconds to back the men's title, while Emily Ngi clocked 48 minutes 40.2 seconds. The finals tomorrow, in the finals tomorrow will be the third and last day of the championship.
Race ya leo nilikuwa nimejipanga, nikasema leo lazima nitaenda na hii game because after Kipkeno niliona improvement, nikasema wacha ning'ang'ane pia mimi ni defend title yangu ya steeplechase.
The national women's under-17 national team will depart for Addis Ababa, Ethiopia on Wednesday evening. Junior starlets will play Ethiopia this Friday in the third round first leg of the FIFA Under-17 World Cup qualifier at Abebe Bikila Stadium. The second leg will be played on May 19th at Ulinzi Sports Complex in Nairobi. The winner of this tie on aggregate will advance to the fourth and final round, where they will face either Djibouti or Burundi. The victor will secure an automatic qualification for the 2024 FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup in October, to be held in the Dominican Republic. Head coach Mildred Cheche named her squad, which comprises of players from Kobala Secondary, Wiyata Nyakach Secondary, Butere Girls, Gor Mahia Queens and Shiraha Starlets.
Wasichana wengi wamekuwa wanataka opportunity ya kuchezea Starlets for a long time. So most of the young girls wamekuja hapa, wanataka kuonesha that wanaweza, wamekuwa active kwa other competitions, na sasa wanataka kuchezea nchi, na kwa matumaini mazuri tupate good result.
Training imekuwa fiti, kuanzia tuingie camp, tumejisukuma na zoezi, tunafuata chenye kocha anatuambia, tunakuwa discipline, alafu kila kitu itakuwa fiti.
Mazoezi imekuwa poa tangu tuanze hadi saa hii. Juu timu iko poa, pia wanajipush poa, na coach pia wanatupea, yenye coach wanatupea pia wanajaribu kuonesha coach wanaweza.
That's what's making headlines in the world of news. Up next is the People's Court, as we did inform you of what is happening, the discussion tonight regarding the incidents that we've seen in the past few weeks. Victor Miyakane will be joining me on Saturday.